call the business meeting to order. Today is December 13th, 2016, and the meeting is now in session. At this time, I noticed our Air Force folks are not here, so if you would please stand and let's have the Pledge of Allegiance by Sean Frost.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next order of business would be the adoption of the orders of the day. Would any board member like to have any item moved from consent to action? Consent E has been requested to be moved to action by Dr. Rendell. Any other items?
I'll make a motion to adopt the orders of the day with the removal of consent E to action item.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Okay. Presentations, Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have two presentations and a musical performance that's going to be offered by Glendale Elementary. But first, we'll turn it over to Mr. Fidgen, who's going to take us through the first of the two community presentations.
Good evening, Board. Tonight's first presentation, I'd like to welcome Meredith Egan to the podium. She's from the United Way of Indian River County, and tonight she's going to present a check to Pelican Island Elementary in regard to their Community Schools program.
Thank you, and thank you for having us here tonight. Principal Colstead, come on up. So when United Way heard that Pelican Island was pursuing a community school model, we were very excited because this is one of the best practices that we've seen in other communities. We know that community schools show promise for addressing barriers to learning and for promoting the well-being of the students and the surrounding community. So we're very excited to be partnering with you and to give you this $25,000 check to get the community school going.
Thank you, Meredith. On behalf of Pelican Island, we just want to say thank you for your contribution and to everyone who works at United Way and all of our community and business partners. United Way has been there since the very beginning. We appreciate their physical, intellectual, and now financial support. So just want to say thank you very much. It's going to have a huge impact on our community.
Next, we're going to recognize some student excellence. One of our students recently won the Very Special Arts Card Contest. And to explain to you about the contest a little bit, I have Mary Teresa Van Hollenbeck. Mary.
Thank you, Flynn. Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
As Flynn said, I'm Mary Teresa Van Hollenbeck, MT, and I work for the school district as an exceptional student education teacher for our youngest population. I'm here this evening, however, as a VSA Florida representative for our county. VSA Florida is an affiliate of the VSA International Organization on Arts and Disability. It was founded more than 40 years ago by Ambassador Jean Kennedy Smith to provide arts and education opportunities for people with disabilities and increase access to the arts for all. VSA Florida in Indian River County, along with our school district, offers support to a local holiday art contest sponsored by Tuttle Law for our children and our elementary exceptional student ed ESE programs. I would like to introduce Mr. Douglas Tuttle, who will present the winner of the contest with their prize. This year's winner is Elijah Patterson from Sebastian Elementary, a student in Miss Joanne McCarty's classroom. Mr. Tuttle.
Thank you very much. This is the 15th year that my law firm sponsored this contest for the elementary ESE students. And it's been such a rewarding experience for us. It's an idea, frankly, that I stole from a friend of mine who has a law firm in South Florida. And it's a population of students that doesn't have a lot of, as we understand it, contests like this geared for them. And each year, the school district, Ms. Van Hollenbeck, is just wonderful about coordinating this for us. The students, the teachers have their students draw a holiday-themed drawing, and we select one and put it on the cover of our law firm's Christmas card. And this year, we're going to send 1,600 of these cards out to our friends and clients. And this year's winning artist was Elijah Patterson. Elijah's a 5th grader at Sebastian Elementary. And as I told Elijah and his mother earlier, this drawing is one of our very favorite that we've had in our contest. And we're just thrilled to be a part of this and have the teachers help us and Ms. Van Hollenbeck help us. And I think it's been a nice experience for the students. We get a lot of great feedback from the teachers. This year we had 85 students participate. We give each student that enters a gift certificate to the Vero Book Center, and Elijah's going to win $100 along with his gift certificate. A couple of the teachers, as we understand it, even make it a field trip for the class to go use their gift certificates. So Elijah's going to win $100. I gave his mom a stack of these cards to give to his family and friends, and we just got this back from the printer yesterday, but we're going to frame it for Elijah and put a little plaque on it. We'll get that in the beginning of the year. So thanks for your time. Thanks so much to Ms. Van Hollenbeck, and the ESE teachers that help us with this are just wonderful. Their enthusiasm is great, and our favorite day of the year is the day that we get the entries and look at them. It just, as you can imagine, just melts your heart, and hope we get to do it for another 15 years. So. We're not done, are we? We're not done yet, at all?
No.
Not quite.
Elijah, can you stay up here with Mr. Tull for just a minute? Have Elijah and Mr. Tull stay there for just a minute, and then Teresa has something to do.
Okay. Mr. Tuttle, on behalf of the School District of Indian River County and VSA Florida, I would like to present you with a certificate of appreciation for your 15 years of sponsoring the holiday contest. Throughout these years, you have given all of our ESA students who entered the contest gift certificates to the Vero Beach Book Center, which, by the way, has an additional bonus of promoting literacy, and providing monetary awards to the first and second place winners. In addition, you have thanked the teachers for their participation. Above all, I thank you for the opportunity you have given these students to engage in an artistic endeavor. As we know, research has proven that the arts dramatically enhance our students' academic efforts and positively impact all areas of their development. Thank you, Mr. Tuttle, for promoting these children's artistic efforts for all of these years.
Oh, we're already in the good part.
So tonight, keeping with our tradition of having a school perform a musical number before the board meeting, tonight we have students from Glendale Elementary, and their music teacher, Michael Little, is here to introduce them and give you a little background of what they'll be performing tonight.
First off, thank you for having us here. We greatly appreciate leaving the Glendale campus and being able to sing our Christmas concert off our school campus. This is our first time we are singing off our school campus this year. The students have done a phenomenal job preparing it. We had our winter concert last Thursday night, and the students did a great job. I'm so excited to have them in my class, and I'm proud to share them with you guys tonight. We have 3 songs we'll be singing for you. I hope you enjoy our winter concert.
Great job. Let's give it up one more time for the students. The Indian River Education Foundation will be holding their 2017 Indian River Regional Science Fair at Gifford Middle School on Saturday, February 4th. They have the information about that on their website. But before students can compete in the regional engineering and science fair, they have to compete at their local science fair. So here's a short video about some science fairs that recently took place.
Today at Gifford Middle School, we are holding our annual science fair. And our science fair is an opportunity for our future Marie Curies and Albert Einsteins to show the community what kind of scientific research, experiments, and engineering projects they have conducted. They learn a lot about how to conduct scientific research, how to go through the engineering design process, and come up with some pretty exciting discoveries that they feel good about. After the school-based science fair, we will select some winners to go on to the district-level science fair. At Gifford, we like to encourage as many students as possible to go on to the district-level science fair. And so this is a good practice for them to talk to judges, to look for ways to improve their research, improve their presentation, and prepare them to go on to the district level competition. The science fair at the district level allows them to compete for a wide variety of scholarships and special prizes. A lot of organizations and individuals donate special science awards for particular categories that they're interested in, and scholarship money is huge in the high school. I've had former students go on to win $45,000, $65,000 scholarships for conducting a science fair experiment.
At this time, we'll have citizen input, and the first speaker is going to be Curtis Carpenter. Curtis, you know the 3-minute rule, and the timekeeper is our attorney down here, so have at it.
Good evening, Board. Thank you all for having me tonight. My name is Curtis Carpenter. I'm the father of 2 children that attend Osceola Magnet School, and I'm a member of their school advisory council. As a committee, the district defines our purpose to include creating a vision and mission for our school, developing a school improvement plan, impacting curriculum, calling upon the district to assist school efforts, and Florida state statutes requires the council to assist in preparation of the school's annual budget and plan. Over the past 2 years, the primary goal of our school improvement plan has been to increase the use and access of technology to all students. However, we found a couple barriers that prevent us from truly fulfilling this goal. Those include time to teach the skills and access to computers and technology. The school and the district have worked together to essentially fix the latter by creating computer labs and providing laptops to our 5th grade students. However, the former still remains an issue, so we came up with a solution. I come to you today to ask that the school district begins looking at ways to create a 5th specials class for Osceola Magnet School. This class would have a full-time teacher, not an aide nor an assistant, but someone that is dedicated to teaching a class just like art, library, music, or physical education. The precedent for a 5th specials class has been set by many other schools in the county. As a matter of fact, there are only 3 schools in our county that don't have a 5th special. School districts should look at Osceola Magnet School as a catalyst for technology in the area. Osceola would like to take the reins and work toward creating baseline standards for all elementary grade levels. The district has invested over $20 million into hardware infrastructure to support technological advances in our schools. The district has purchased hundreds of laptops, upgraded our broadband speed, done tons of electrical work, and much, much more. And we thank you guys for making the investment. However, we are testing our children on computers, and the children aren't proficient with using them. 40.4% of our students are, by the district's definition, economically disadvantaged. It's very probable that these children don't have access to computers at home. Once they go into 5th grade, they'll receive a laptop that is possibly completely foreign to them, similar to giving a teenager a car without teaching them how to drive. I know the argument from your side of the dais will be that you can't financially support another full-time teacher with a salary and benefits. I completely understand your position. But if you've already invested this money into the infrastructure, why can't we invest the money into utilizing it? We strongly urge you to bring your investment full circle and would love it if we could count on the district to support our magnet program. Thank Thank you very much for your time and consideration. And does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you.
The next speaker is John Young.
Members of the board, my name is John Young. I'm also a member of the SAC committee at Osceola. I have 3 children at Osceola. They're in grades 5th, 4th, and 1st. To say I have a vested interest is an understatement. I've been there since back in the days when it was flooding at the old location. But upon doing some research, that is inquiring my 5th grader about the use of the technology, I wanted to say thank you. Obviously, this board understands the value of technology. As a business owner, technology is invaluable to me, but as an employer and my employees, I look to their ability to be proficient in the use of said technology. Our teachers are imposed upon at our school to not only utilize this technology, but to teach our kids how to use the technology. They're not technology teachers. And so we come before you just to make the point that if a set curriculum is being followed, if they're learning how to make PowerPoint, if they're utilizing data entry to make their own science fair projects stand out, to make their own graphs, their own charts, then the teacher can explore that. They can exploit that in their lessons, as opposed to, as my son says, our computer glitched out, we had to restart it, and a reboot takes 10 minutes. Class keeps going. They're stuck. They can't move on. You guys have invested that capital. Now we need somebody that can help our kids learn not to do the hunt and peck, but to actually use all 10 fingers and all of their brain cells to make them efficient. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Young. The next speaker is Liz Cannon.
Good evening. I'm Liz Cannon from IRCEA. Last week at the impasse hearing, I spoke about teacher retention and recruitment. I've spoken on this topic before and still feel it needs to be addressed further. I believe at the district level we have done much to improve our efforts regarding new teachers. Now it needs to be addressed at a school level. On your personnel recommendations this evening, there are 9 teachers under instructional separations. 3 of those teachers were hired just this year. Another hired last year. One of these teachers is being terminated during her probationary period. You have that right, but is it appropriate to terminate a teacher without cause before she ever even sees the results of her first evaluations? At another school, a new teacher was hired to take a position available due to yet another brand new teacher who resigned early in her first year. On her first day, she was walked to the classroom, a welcome email was sent out, and then she was left to her own devices. She did not even have access to technology for 4 days. Her department chair ran off a few pertinent documents, discipline plan, curriculum map, activity ideas, and called the new teacher PD support and literacy team to help assist her finding her way. As usual, leave it to the teachers to help out those in need. As I said, we need to do more to support our teachers. Another issue that has taken up a good amount of my time this week, in the past week, is insurance. As a result of the impasse last week, teachers are faced with a significant rate hike. As promised, a modified open enrollment allowing changes to be made occurred. The problem? If teachers were able to get the first email sent by Dr. Fritz at 4:57 p.m. on Wednesday, which many did not receive, they had 3 business days to make the decision and change their plan. Many, however, did not receive the email since there has been a problem with distribution lists since the move to Office 365 this year. So many of our teachers had 2 or fewer working days in which to make such a decision. If they happened to be absent, they were out of luck. When asked if we could accommodate a longer period for change if teachers understood that they would not go into effect until the next paycheck, Dr. Fritz's response was essentially no. Now finally, regarding the impasse from last week, I would like to thank both Ms. Simchek and Ms. Zork for their support. Ms. Simchek recognized that the $900 per year is not a raise, merely compensation for additional hours worked. And for several of the teachers at the top, it's actually a cut in pay. Mrs. Zork's research into the financial impact on teachers living in Indian River County had a profound effect on our teachers. We appreciate your words of support for our teachers. In closing, I would like to adapt a statement Mr. Frost had made at the hearing last Monday. You said Christmas may not be great this year for teachers. I believe that to be false. Teachers are resilient people, always seeking the positive in every student. Christmas is going to be wonderful for the teachers of Indian River County this year because they have the support of IRCEA fighting for every student, every school, every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. County. The next speaker is Anthony Stewart.
Good evening to the board. I don't know why I needed all this paper. I got 3 minutes to do this. See if I can summarize it. My message may not be as enlightening as the previous. I'm concerned with what is going on with the Desegregation Act of 1967. I'm very much concerned. I have 2 9-year-old kids at Treasure Coast Elementary School. They are twins. One of them, for the last couple of years, we've been struggling with her behavior. And I've been getting different notes from the teachers, et cetera. And I take several suggestions to get her in counseling. I've got in counseling at Sequel. And they're alleging that perhaps maybe she has symptoms of ADHD. Now, Sequel Care would not diagnose it. Her pediatrician would not give her that diagnosis. But yet, I'm constantly going through this with the teachers and the principal. Finally, between me and her mom filing court cases, I end up taking her to a psychologist, a licensed psychologist. He actually said, rule out all 3 forms of ADHD, that there was absolutely nothing there. Not only that, there were several areas that he cited that said that she was very exceptionally in. My fear is that there's going to be, I'm getting repercussion and retaliation because evidently the self-fulfilling prophecy that they had made about my daughter did not occur. And this license act here in Indian River County, when I brought the results of her psychological back to the teachers and the principal, I was asked, well, why didn't he contact the school? Well, I didn't know that he was supposed to. That was between him and them. I asked her, does that mean that this test is invalid or unreliable simply because he didn't contact the school? Back to the DSEG order. As long as our kids does not have equitable representation at our local schools, they won't get a chance. I know that you all have said that the reason we don't have enough minority students, educators in this system is because you can't find them. I have 3 college graduate kids in my family. None of them want to come back home. One is an attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. Another one works to a college in Atlanta, Georgia as a counselor. One is in FedEx exec in Memphis, Tennessee. They don't want to come back here because they don't feel you all going to give them a chance. Right now, according to the paper, for 50 years, the DSEG order has said that in order to comply, you need to have equitable among the population of the schools.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I apologize. The 3-minute timer is up. If the speaker could conclude his comments, please.
Just kind of wrap it up if you could, please, sir.
Yes, sir, I will try. Again, how are we going to feel that our children is getting a chance? Even what I saw here, this was great, lovely, but is it in proportion to the population of our county? Again, we see all these success stories that we have, but when we look at Gifford, the kids of Gifford, there's no success stories that's coming out. The kids are having some of the same thing that's going on in Sebastian. Somewhere got to stop. For 50 years, we've listened to the board say you can't find applicants. You can't find the teachers. If you treat these students right and do the right thing, put people in the position to give us a chance, maybe our children will come back. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Stewart. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and I believe one item was moved from consent E to action, and I need a motion on consent agenda.
I'll make the motion on the consent agenda minus item E.
Let's see. Okay, need a second. Mr. Justice, okay. All in favor of the motion? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that takes care of the, okay, action, so we go to item E, Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On former consent item E, there were 3 budget amendments. Amendment number 1 to special revenue, amendment number 1 to capital projects, and amendment number 1 to general fund. We found an error in amendment number 1, general fund, the third of those 3 amendments. So we'd like to pull the amendment 1, general fund out, delete that, bring that back to a future meeting, but ask for approval of amendment 1, special revenue, and amendment 1, capital projects.
Have a motion?
Could you repeat that? Which one are you removing? Was it amendment?
Third one.
The
General.
third one.
General fund.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept that amendment 1 and 2 and table item 3.
We're going to,
Amendment 3? Is that what?
Yes, it's the first, they're all labeled Amendment 1 because they're the first amendment in those categories, so, of the fiscal year,
general
so.
fund portion.
But the first 2 amendments, we are asking for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the first 2 amendments.
Special revenue and capital projects, and defer general fund to a later date?
Yes,
Or
sir.
to a,
Yeah, we'll bring it back the first
Okay.
meeting in January.
is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay, and do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Sean, okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous, okay. Okay, then the first action item is approval of 2016-17 school improvement plans and district improvement and assistant plans. Dr. Rendell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In accordance with Florida Statute 1001.42 and School Board Policy 2120, each school must complete a school improvement plan with the assistance of their school advisory council. In addition, the district must complete a district improvement and assistance plan. The district improvement and assistance plan and the school improvement plans are submitted for approval and can be accessed with a password, without a password, on our website. You can follow a link right there to the SIMS website. These plans have been submitted for approval to the state as well.
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the approval of the school improvement plan.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to.
Okay.
Would you like to speak to your
No.
motion a second? No.
John?
Okay. I actually find myself agreeing with the most recent speaker that not enough is happening, in particular in Gifford and specifically Dodgertown. Last session, there was legislation that moved that makes it anytime a charter school, a public charter school, receives a double F, they shut it down. It is summarily shut down. And this morning, this board considered that policy, and then the question becomes, what happens to a traditional school when it double Fs or has a number of D years? And the answer to that is we kind of make some tweaks here and there, and well-intended, and strategies are employed, but oftentimes, we change the marquee, we do things like that. And to my mind, what is needed at this point, particularly at Dodgertown, is bigger, bolder initiatives, whether it's, and I've talked with the superintendent about this isn't news to him, is bringing in like a KIP or someone that is a specialist in a turnaround, or even providing massive incentives to teachers, seasoned teachers with proven track records, rather than, is often the case, we end up with our least experienced teachers in the most challenging situations. However, when I brought this forward, the reality is to get that negotiated with the union would take several years. So we're limited in what we can do, and I'd love to be able to, for this board, to consider a proposal where we take $10,000 a year and offer it to teachers to go teach in these underperforming schools or these schools in need of improvement. And that simply isn't possible. And hopefully next year I'll be able to support this because we'll have something that is going to have big, bold, drastic change. Because the ones that are suffering are the students, and these partial measures and incremental approach, to my mind, isn't enough. It's time for bigger, bolder initiatives, and to my mind, this doesn't reach the standard. So, Justice.
I would just like to say that, regarding school improvement plans, I think they're as good as the administrator that you have working on them and the team that you're working with your SAC. And we have new leadership in this school district, and we have some new leadership at that school in the past few years. And I think that, change takes time, and we need to continue to support the school. I think what's important to me is that community schools in general, not community schools like Pelican Island Elementary, but schools that are located in a community are an important part of that community. So while I understand what you're saying, and I definitely agree with you, we do need to take bold action to improve our schools. I will continue to support that idea of supporting each community school and giving back to that community.
I'd like for the superintendent to weigh in on this. Is that something that can be done?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Dodgertown School Improvement Plan was reviewed not only by staff here at the district, but also by the state. There's a state assistance team that works with any schools that have repeatedly had low performance. And the state assistance team reviewed that improvement plan and gave it their seal of approval. They've visited the school at least twice already this year to walk classrooms, to take a look at what's going on there. Ms. Tatro is doing a great job. She's incrementally moved student achievement there each year. They were 3 points away from a C last year, 3 points away from a C with a new grading formula. So I think there has been steady improvement at the school. As Mrs. Justice said, it takes time. One of the mistakes that's often made in education is we don't give leadership enough time at a school to make that difference. However, in accordance with recommendations of the State Board of Education, they also review these plans. And they reviewed all of our plans, and they asked us to amend our plan for Dodgertown to include that if the grade doesn't improve this year, that we would consider removing the principal. And if we aren't going to remove the principal, then I have to go before the State Board of Education and explain why. So right now, I would say that I have the utmost confidence in Ms. Tatro, and I believe you're going to see an improved academic achievement there this year.
And I didn't mean to put Ms. Tatro on the line. I know she's an excellent administrator. My thing is, are we providing the big and bold supports that she needs to make not this incremental, from a mid-D to a high D rating to, I want these kids to be A. I want to make sure that students in these schools are learning to read and then reading to learn.
Yeah, so one of the things we talked about a little bit last year was changing the type and amount of support each school receives. And we've talked about response to intervention, MTSS. It's how the students who have more academic needs than others receive different types of services than the others. We've treated all of our schools the same for so long. They all get the same amount of resources. This year, if you take a look at how the Curriculum and Instruction Department, for example, allocates its resources to support schools, the neediest schools get the most resources. So, that's something that I think you're going to see. Again, it will take some time, but you're going to see increased academic achievement at those schools that have been struggling because they're receiving increased support from the district. Maybe not as big and bold as a $10,000 teaching bonus to go sign, to teach there, but they are receiving more support now than they have in the past.
Do you worry about regression to the mean at the schools that, let's say Osceola, if we're allocating resources to schools that may not be using them the best way or not at least achieving the results? So you'll see regression to the mean where now Osceola goes from an A to a B to a C and, or any other A school. So, we become, a C district because we're taking money into something that isn't yielding results, and then we're just going to throw more money in it. But as long as the investment is smart, do you worry about regression to the mean?
I think that's always going to be a concern because you have the same amount of resources and you're spreading them out in a different manner than you had in the past. So that's a concern.
Okay.
Ms. Justice.
Is support, equal to money? Is that, or there are different types of support that we give schools?
So different types of support. Say, for example, you have instructional coaches, literacy coaches, math coaches that work out of the district office. They might spend more time at the struggling schools than they do at the schools who aren't struggling. More time working with the teachers there than with the teachers at the other schools, that types of thing. It's not always money. In fact, the best type of support is people.
Mr. Frost brought this up, so could you expand on it? Are you seeing at Dodgertown an influx of newer teachers versus seasoned teachers, or what is the mix in that?
No, Dodgertown has actually had a fairly stable staff over the last few years. Ms. Tatro has an agreement with the Teachers College from Columbia, and they come in and provide a lot of PD to the teachers there. So there's a lot of teachers there that are staying there and teaching there because of the professional development that's provided by the Teachers College. So I don't see a high turnover there. I mean, Dr. Fritz can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember seeing a high turnover rate there.
PD, professional development, right?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Just for
Good catch.
clarification, yeah.
Police Department. I believe Mr. Fritz wanted to say something.
Fritz, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Dr. Rendell, I don't have the data obviously sitting in front of me, but this year we had very little turnover at Dodgertown. And another school that has been a high-risk school but has improved fairly rapidly is Indian River Academy. They have improved, I think, by 2 letter grades in the last year and had very little turnover as well. So there isn't necessarily a correlation between a high-need school and an inexperienced staff or a inadequate staff. It's a challenging place to work. And but yeah, Dodgertown had very little turnover this year. We do have other schools that have more turnover, and we're working on helping create some stability in cooperation with the principals of those schools.
But there's an old saying that if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. And this school has been an F school for how many years?
It's been a D for 3 years in a
D,
row.
I'm sorry, D.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. The work with the Teachers College, I believe, started about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So
I believe if it were a charter school, we would have to explain why we kept it open and why we hadn't revoked its charter.
Ds?
With Ds. I think it's 3 or 4 Ds. I can't remember. That may have actually been dropped, but definitely 2 Fs. I have a question, follow-up question. I really like, in fact, the balanced scorecard that Dr. Rendell and the team has made has become sort of a state model. Is there any interest, or has there been any discussion of tracking by site the mean number of years? Now, acknowledging that you can have 20 single years of experience and the number of years in service isn't always a great indicator, but oftentimes experience, particularly if they've been rated highly effective for the last 5 of 10 years or something along those lines. Do we measure that? Is that something we measure and report by site? So whether it's 22 years at this school and 3.5 at this school, and then suddenly there's a correlation where we have challenges, and so that we can address that?
We have that data available to us. We can run a correlation on that. That's easy to do. I will tell you, when you look at the literature related to schools nationwide and that sort of thing, you don't tend to see a strong correlation between experience and performance. You sometimes have experienced teachers who are not very effective, and you sometimes have new teachers who are very effective. I do think, as Ms. Cannon said, you need to provide good quality support so people come in as they enter the profession in a quality way and feel supported in that. That's something that we are interested in and committed to. But there isn't a tremendous amount of correlation in the literature, but we can run it for the district and see what that looks like as well.
And I mean, if there is interest in exploring the bonus idea, I think that what makes the most sense would be that it is involved in a mentorship capacity where they wouldn't just, when they leave 3 years later, the benefits don't go with them. They would have to agree to mentor a younger teacher or something along those lines. But that's it.
I believe that I agree with you that this isn't, for me, that I'm okay with the state-approved and SAC-approved plan, but I feel that, and we have an officer in the back, you don't give an officer a bonus for going into a high-crime area. It might end up being the younger guy, or I shouldn't say younger, newer guy, excuse me. But, as somebody pointed out, sometimes 20 years experience also is 20 years becomes complacent. So I don't know that that's the answer. So maybe, I do feel, though, that support needs to be explored for these underperforming schools. And I think you're right on about not just sitting still and let it continue. Let's talk about, the school grades of the underperforming schools and what support that they need. I don't know that it would be, because then, as you said, I went, that's a good idea. Then I thought, no, because you could get somebody for all the wrong reasons transferring over, or how about a volunteer bonus for somebody with more years? Well, they could be complacent. So I don't know, I don't have the answer. I just see some things problematic with just throwing money at it. Maybe support at it would be.
Well, and the thinking along those lines is it's difficult sometimes to recruit seasoned teachers to tougher schools. So if you incentivize that monetarily, hopefully you would arrive at a coaching and mentoring situation that is more than an email and a listserv or something along those lines that the new teacher was getting. I'm not saying that that's necessarily always the case. That may have been a one-off, but to incentivize good teachers to pass along, what's working for them, I think would be a good way to go about doing this.
All of our teachers are good, though.
Well, I'm talking great, super
Yeah,
great.
great.
Let's
Okay.
say the super great teachers.
Well, one of the things that I continue to bring up year after year for several years back, too, was the leveling of students. And I know we don't do that and track them by levels, but if we level students and put them in groups, the red birds, the green birds, and the yellow birds, and the students in the higher levels, they don't need quite as much attention as the ones in the lower levels. And then you may give them 2 teachers in that particular level. But to me, that's something to look at. I mean, it's not discrimination. We're putting the instruction where it needs to go. And I don't know if we've given any thought to that, but I would certainly like to see you give some thought to it. Yep, got a question.
We are providing those services in our schools. The 90-minute block of instruction, there is small group instruction as well as our Tier 2 and Tier 3. At Dodgertown specifically, we have an interventionist as well as coaches that provide that additional above and beyond the regular 90-minute block of instruction. So we are providing and grouping students based on their needs in that small group.
At every school or just Dodgertown?
In every school during that 90-minute block, it should be occurring.
You finally came around. I like that. That's good. Okay.
I'm also aware, if I could, during that time, if there are students who don't need that additional support and might be able to move on, are we providing any enrichment for those students?
Yes, we are.
So if you could explain RTI, the RTI period, and the 90-minute block. Just to clarify, though, for Mr. Searcy, I think what he might have been mentioning is we put those kids in class. So this class will be your high achievers, this next class will be medium, and then this next class might be medium to low. We still have heterogeneous classes, and within those classes, we group the students for instruction. Sometimes we take groups of students from different classes and put them together more in their ability groups. So I think the stamp here could
And
probably
that's at the
explain that.
elementary level?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we do provide enrichment for all of our students. That's part of the RTI program. We have our Tier 1, which is our core curriculum, and our Tier 2, which is more of the small group instruction where we're pulling kids based on, and we're ability grouping based on the skill deficit as well as those kids who need to be enriched. And then we have Tier 3, which is more a smaller 3-to-1 ratio, which provides above and beyond. So there are different levels of support that we're providing our students during that 90-minute reading block and above and beyond.
But one other piece that I have on that is, at the elementary level, how do you determine which class gets which students? I mean, because, I have sympathy for the teachers, number one, because you've got, Einstein, and then you've got somebody that needs to learn to read in the same class. And how can the teacher teach to all of that at the same time?
Well, research has shown that our students learn from each other as well. So grouping kids, low-level kids, all day together is not what's best for kids. We should have them interacting with other students at different levels as well. But there are certain times when they're receiving explicit small group instruction based on their level throughout the day. It can be in math as well as, science. We're integrating literacy into science as well. So they're receiving what they need based on their level. As well as at the secondary level, we have intensive reading. We have that's more so based on, you may have a level 1, level 2 student in that classroom, but they're only in that classroom for that period. And then they're grouped based on, their needs throughout the day as well.
And the results are good. We're seeing extremely good scores coming out of those schools and that process that we're working on.
We're monitoring instruction, and we know there are some areas that we need to work on, and we're providing that support. Especially at Dodgertown, we have tiered support that is going into that school weekly for ELA, math, science, as well as professional development. We actually have someone also providing that new teacher support at Dodgertown as well. So we know that there's a need. We tiered support based on the needs of our schools, based on their grades, based on attendance, based on various things to make sure that the support is in the school, not at the district office.
Wonderful. Anything else? Yes.
You make a great point because, and I'm glad to hear that we are not all-day tiering, because that was my one problem, and it's a high-performing charter school, but they do flocks, and it's the Cardinals versus the Owls versus whatever, based on their reading, and they could be gifted at math, but if they're not a good reader, they're stuck at that level all day long. And the kids, it only takes them by the end of the first, second day to know, I'm with the dummies, the Owls, and so-and-so, and that's what they feel about themselves as a whole person. So I think as in spirit, which is just as important as education, so I like I said, I'm glad to hear that you say that we are addressing support where needed, but not, and for what subject, but not all day long, because that was my only issue that I had with that. And it's a high-performing middle school, but that was probably one of my things that I felt socially put a stigma on the children of that school with each other. They're smart. They know where they're, and then they feel that I can't excel. This is where I've been placed.
And our groups are fluid. That means
that's what I heard
every 6 to 8
you
weeks
say.
we reassess, and those groups might change based on their needs.
Maybe no. Maybe it's changed.
Thank you.
For 3 years.
Mr. Green.
Being in the school almost weekly, I'm there with Ms. Tetro. Just a couple additional items that we are doing there. Those students are receiving an extra hour of instruction during the day. They are implementing LLI, leveled literacy interventions, which are on the individual student level, and they are doing something called running records. So they know the exact reading level, kindergarten through 5, of every student. And if you were to walk into Ms. Tetra's office, you will see boards with every single student name on them, and faces and pictures and their levels. And every week they are moving them, and students are moving 3 and 4 reading levels in 4 weeks. However, you must realize that we moved from FCAT 2.0 to FSA, new and more difficult test. No learning gains was included in the school grade when it was calculated. Then we moved to adding learning gains, but the learning gains were more rigorous. So the rules have changed all 3 of those years as well. But I can assure you they are implementing many, the Lucy Calkins writers workshop that are going on. This is their 3rd year, and we are seeing students, but some of those students are very, very low-level readers. So to get them on grade level is going to take some time. It won't magically jump to a proficient FSA score automatically.
Sound like you're making a good effort, though.
Putting a lot of resources there.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
So is it my understanding that, Mr. Green, are you the assistant superintendent that's supervising the Dodgertown principal? Is that?
He has Dodgertown as one of his.
He has Dodgertown as one of his. Okay. Can you explain that a little bit, just to?
Sure. So in the past and last year, the superintendent supervised all 22 schools. And last year, supervising all 22 schools, I didn't feel like I could give each school the amount of time that it really deserved. Didn't give the principals the amount of time that they really needed to have strong leadership and supervision. So we divided the schools up with the 3 assistant superintendents who kind of oversee curriculum and have a curriculum or teaching background. Mr. Morrison does not supervise any schools. It's just not his area of expertise. But the other 3 have all been classroom teachers, and have that experience. And so we divided the schools up. I have 4 schools, they all have 6 each. And so Mr. Green is actually getting experience supervising principals and schools. So he has been in Dodgertown quite a bit, so he knows what's going on there.
Thank you. I just have one more thing, which maybe you can, it explains, it's not the answer, but Indian River Academy as well as Gifford, many of the students are transient with homeless and may be in Gifford, Dodgertown 1 year and then out of county. I know that that was one of the complaints by the principal of Indian River Academy, is that enrollment is so fluid.
Right, so it's called the mobility rate.
Yes.
And a lot of times the schools that are struggling academically, you'll see they have a high mobility rate. So one of the things that we've done at IRA, Indian River Academy, over the years is we've built a really strong culture there, family culture at the school. So her mobility rate has decreased. As her mobility rate has decreased, academic achievement has increased. In other words, the kids are staying at that school, the families are keeping their kids at that school. Even if they're moving, they're finding ways to keep their kids at the school because they like what's going on at the school. So as long as they have that stable population, you can make that increase in academic achievement. And so that's why they were able, one of the reasons they were able to go from an F to a C. F to a C with a totally different grading formula, as Mr. Green pointed out, with learning gains and all that kind of thing. So, like I said earlier, that I expect to see Dodgertown improve.
Good. Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, nay.
No.
1, 4 to 1, okay. Okay, the next item is approval of the 2016-17 School Advisory Council membership composition. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In accordance with Florida Statute 1001.452 and School Board Policy 2125, each school must establish a school advisory council. Each school advisory council shall be composed of the principal and an appropriate balanced number of teachers, education support employees, students, parents, and other business and community citizens who are representative of the ethnic, racial, and economic community served by the school. School advisory councils must include students attending high schools, may include students at middle school, and do not necessarily include students at elementary school. Completed school advisory council composition and membership reports are submitted for approval. This is another state statutory requirement.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, Justice, okay. Okay. Okay, any discussion?
Yes, sir. May I speak to
Yes,
that?
certainly.
Thank you. So in reviewing the SAC composition, one of the things I noticed was that at our high schools, we do have student representation, but we don't actually at our middle schools. So I think that it's always great to have students weigh in on their education and their schools, and I like to hear their input. I think they know the school pretty well. They're there every day, and I think it might be beneficial. Is there any way, what do you think about having, encouraging middle school principals to bring some students onto their student advisory, their school advisory?
Actually, I think it's a fantastic idea. I have the great fortune of sitting with a superintendent's advisory council every 6 weeks. It's a group of students from middle schools and high schools here in the district. And it's one of my most valuable experiences, actually, because I'm getting a chance to talk to the customer and see, get their feedback on things. So I don't have a problem at all encouraging the middle school principals to include students on their SAC membership.
Consider it done.
Good idea.
Any other questions?
Just thank everyone for putting this report together. I know it's a huge effort, and I appreciate it.
I have a couple of questions on the Alternative Center, on the number of students that they have there, 8,354 students. I'm not sure who.
Right on the heels of me saying.
Thank you,
Mr. Green.
Mr. Chairman. So the note on the Alternative Center, it's supposed to represent the community you serve. They serve all of our secondary students without regard. We don't know who that's going to be. So that's the sum of the students of all the secondary schools to get our percentages of what their balance should be like.
Now for the big question. Over at the Technical Center for Adult and Community Education, we got 163,448 over there. I don't know what that might be.
That's the census of Indian River County in a particular year, because they serve anybody in our county who might choose to take an adult education course.
They need a bigger budget.
You already have unspent money that we get dinged on every time.
Yeah, we need to bring that up,
1.2
too.
million sitting around
Not the
that
one
we're supposed to be
time we say
spending.
spend.
Is there any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. 5-0, okay. Item number C, approval of purchase PCs, laptops, monitors, associated connectors from CDW-G through NJPA 100614 contract for district-wide refresh. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, item C and action item E are very similar. Action item C, we're seeking approval to refresh technology in the district. So these are computers that are 6 years old. Total cost of the district is $537,268.34. When we get to item E, you'll see that these are actual specific laptop carts for classrooms. But item C is to refresh, and this is part of the 0.6 millage to refresh districts, all of our technology, trying to keep it up to date so it can handle the latest program software and everything. Mr. Green, anything to add?
I will just thank the voters again for the .6 voter-approved millage. You will notice it's divided into two funding sources, voter-approved millage of $427,240 and capital funds, $110,028. We use capital funds to do non-classroom types of technology. So this district office, some of the computers that came over from the old building need to be refreshed. They're very old, and the support service complex. So the monitors and some of the computers in here are for ancillary buildings, so that's what we use capital for, and the .6 are where it's going to schools and classrooms.
Move approval.
Second.
Second, Dale, okay. Okay, any discussion? This is only on item C right now.
Correct.
One at a time. Okay, Ms. Zort.
In my backup, I found it looks like maybe the laptops or computers to specific schools, but I was never able to find where the 110,000 came from.
So the backup you have there is for item E.
For item E, okay, then where is the backup to this one?
So there's a quote for CDWG that has like 1,000 desktops. It doesn't break out specifically which ones of these on that particular quote. It's two funding sources. We divvy that up, the count.
Like mine?
Do you have that quote?
I don't have this in my backup. Do you?
I do. C, right here, page 1 of 2.
Okay.
Is that, yeah, no.
Where?
See, on E. Oh, on C.
C.
That's what we're on to.
Yeah, there's 2 of 2.
2, yeah.
1 and 2. Right before.
C.
Okay.
C, 1 of 2. You don't have that?
So the 110, you said it's broken out
This is
from
a,
this?
this is a quote for all of the equipment. The $110,000 is not broken out specifically, but for example, the monitors, the $24,526, that is for monitors for support staff, not school. So we don't normally buy monitors with our computers unless they're failing, and these are for failing ones. But it's not broken out specifically which ones of these devices. Of the 1,000, some of those PCs are going to employees that aren't at school sites. We have that count available in our needs assessment planning, but the quote's not broken out into two separate quotes, if that makes sense.
But you're making sure that the right funds are coming from the right account. And
Yes, we
and
track
being
that, and that
used
exact
the right
amount
way.
ties to particular devices on this quote.
It's in there, but.
So out of the 537,000, which is the total, we're just telling which bank accounts, 110 for one, and the rest would be the
That's correct.
.06. Since we're lucky enough, and thank you again to the people of our county. But this is a prime example why, during our legislative platform, that we push for, you know, in a times that things are going up, a laptop, a tablet, are all over $1,000. I mean, most of them. And you know, so the thing is that anything capital is over 1,000. So sometimes when you think capital, you think about the building, but you don't really think about that a laptop or a tablet or, you know, the cart sometimes can even be $1,000. So we went from 2.0 down to 1.5 1.5. So I'm so glad the Superintendent's Association and as well as this, board is in agreement that this is something we need to lobby Tallahassee, because when that comes down for our millage rate, and it would be, the local millage rate in the book, and then 1.5, I wish they would, they lowered it, and we really, that's so important that we lobby and we let the public know that they reduced us, and perhaps the attorney can tell us what year, or Mr. Morrison, you could tell us what year they reduced us from 2.0 to 1.5. But in a time when prices are expanding, we really need to get that back. I'm not sure if you know what year, Mr. Morrison.
It was around 2010, 11 to 11, 12. We went from 2.0 to 1.75 and to the 1.5 rate that we are at now.
Thank you.
But it increased on the operating side, right?
What happened there was that the $500,000, which was moved from the capital, today still resides in the operating fund, to fund the FEFP.
Any more questions?
I just,
Yes, Ms. Orr?
to help me keep up with this, it's really hard getting 400 pages. Maybe somehow staff could help me out in the beginning by, till I recognize the names in big, bold, action item. Now I'm seeing it way down here, but I'm just learning all this new process here, so.
We'll tab you forward next time.
Thank
I noticed it. We'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Don't worry about that. They're going to take care of you. And we won't move until you're ready. You ready?
Okay.
Are you ready? All right, good deal. All right. All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of action item C. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. 5-0, okay. Item D on the action item has been removed, deleted. That'll come back at a later date. Action item E was basically discussed with us a few minutes ago. Approval of purchase of additional tablet PC carts from United Data Technologies through the OCPS RFP 1508150 contract. Dr. Rendell.
Mr. Green, if you want to take this is actually the one-to-one initiative that.
Yes,
Again.
thank you, Dr. Rendell. So we do needs assessments with our schools every year, and these are not all the schools, you'll notice. These are schools in which are asking for the same thing, which in aggregate exceed $50,000. So for example, Gifford Middle School are getting some laptops to support Project Lead the Way, an initiative they're doing, but it's like $15,000 through a different vendor, so it's way less than the 50. But since so many schools are now just demanding to have the access, as you heard from our speaker earlier, to be able to do the instruction in the classroom, and these are the same carts and the aggregate was over 50,000, we're bringing all these schools to you at once. These are, for example, Dodgertown, one of they need it in their 3rd and 4th grade. They have a plan on how to use that to prepare the students. Sebastian River High School has a plan on how to help alleviate the computer lab testing by putting them in the ELA classes, so teachers who have ELA students can test in their ELA classes rather than tie up the computer labs and kick the career and tech teachers out during a testing time. So each of these have come from the individual principals through a needs assessment, and they're all the same item, adding up more than $50,000 in total.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think it's great that we're able to use these for testing, and so students are familiar with the equipment on which they're testing. And my understanding is that computer labs hopefully soon will become a thing of the past or completely repurposed as we move to one-to-one. So this is a great expenditure. Again, thank you, the good citizens, for the 0.6 millage. Wouldn't be possible without you.
I have a question now. The gentleman earlier brought up a point that we have all this fine technology and we don't have people in the schools that understand the technology. They know a laptop when they see one, I guess. And I don't mean that to be an offensive thing, but are we working towards getting that technology person maybe in every school? Is that possible?
Two separate issues. Mr. Green, if you can speak to the technology support personnel.
Yes, so what we have expanded, we've created a role called an application support specialist. We have one at each high school. We have one that supports the Ford Middle School. We're currently interviewing for a vacant position, someone who left the district. And you approved last year to add one to support all 13 elementaries, one person to support the digital fifth grade initiative. So there is extra support. There's not one at every school, as Rosewood was asking for, was to have a fifth special to help teach technology skills. But so we definitely work with the teachers through that application support specialist on how to use the software, how to use the device, and training. We don't have one of those at every school currently.
So I believe what Osceola was asking for, the two parents that spoke, was to have an additional electives teacher and have that electives teacher teach computer science. So the kids would actually learn keyboarding and how to use, the basic functions of a computer, to use it more for instruction than playing games and that kind of thing. So
Would that be something that the principal should be asking for in the budget process?
yes, sir.
And I would hope that they would include coding, because there's a strong push, especially in Tallahassee, for coding to become recognized as a language. And I think that that's not going away anytime soon. So if we can include coding at the youngest age, learning to code is an extremely valuable thing, because it requires you to think methodically. And I think it would be a tremendous benefit for elementary school students to learn to code, at least at a rudimentary level. So
Now, being from Wauchula, what are you talking about coding?
Sure. Well, writing computer software, essentially writing code. It's called writing code because it's the code that makes the computer, the software go. So for every, for that little thing that appears on there's probably, 1,000 lines of code that say it's going to appear here, and then, if-then statements, Boolean logic. There's all sorts of great things in coding.
Sir, if I may, I agree with you, and just to make a note that some of our elementary schools have taken the initiative to participate in the Hour of Code. So that's something that I think we see parents and teachers and principals really excited and want to get more involved in. Glendale did it, Beachland did it, and I know I'm not going to be able to remember everyone. VBE.
Right. Paige Vinzer, is it? She's pushing.
Visser, Paige Visser. Yeah, she started that at Beachland, and yeah, I mean, it's a great experience. The kids love it. It's really neat, really engaging for them. And, I just think it's great we keep getting kids on computers, and we have iReady, so we're using the computers in our classrooms now as a diagnostic tool, and I think it's a wonderful thing, keeping up with the times.
Is coding kind of like what we used to call COBOL and all
Programming.
those
Yeah, it's another word for programming. Yeah. Yes, sir. COBOL is a language, and that is the thinking, at least with a lot of folks in Tallahassee, is that it's an equal language, that if folks learn it, it should be just as good as Spanish or French or whatever. I know their opinions vary on that. But, COBOL is a language of coding. So you're absolutely right, sir.
All right, okay, that's good.
Folks, which will be proud, sir.
Is there any other discussion? Well, whenever folks out here watching what's going on.
No, it is fair. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of folks that don't understand, so, in addition to me, by the way. Any other discussion? I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, 5-0. Okay, motion carries. Okay, I believe this is action item F now. Approved contract with Indian River County Senior Resource Association. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item F actually represents a great service that we provide to the community. The Food and Nutrition Services Department has been providing meals to Senior Resource Association, Meals on Wheels, since 1997. The Food and Nutrition Department has been informed recently by Senior Resource Association that they are required to put out an RFP, since this is a federally funded program. The Senior Resource Association, or Meals on Wheels, have asked the district to extend the current pricing of $3.91 per meal from January 1st of 2017 to June 30th of 2017. This is not a cost to the district, even though it says the total cost last year was approximately $346,000. They pay for these meals, so it's a neutral cost to the district. In fact, the program is in the black every year, and then the funds are put back into the program. So basically, we're making the meals for Meals on Wheels, and we do it right over here at Storm Grove Middle School.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Sean, any discussion?
Yes, I don't think they're going to find, and I really too appreciate they go through the process of an RFP, because it is government money, but I don't think they're going to find anybody that's going to make a meal any cheaper than us. So I appreciate their process, and they've been told by the government that they have to go through RFP, and that for the time being, we're going to handle it, but I don't think that job's, are we going to bid?
I would imagine.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I thought when I toured the jail, you guys do it for like $1 something a meal. I was amazed.
They
I
may
think it
not
was like $1.09.
They may
or
not
something
have the
like that.
food requirements of
Fair
the
enough.
children. You're asking the wrong person.
Fair enough. But just to be
Daily
clear,
requirements, let me be clear.
the daily requirements. It was daily. That was, it was crazy.
I have a,
But I do have a question on this that, or basically just a clarification. The $3.90, whatever meal or whatever fee we exact covers labor and everything too, right?
Correct. It's a self-funding program, so to speak.
It's an enterprise fund type thing, right? Okay.
Ms. Sork.
my question, I guess, would be to Ms. Dampier.
Food Services, Dr. Fritz.
Well, I just see it as an opportunity if we're offering culinary to, instead of having food services prepare the meals, is maybe introduce the students to preparing the meals. So that's the thought.
Ms. Justice.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, we have so many community partners that give to the school district, and I think it's great that we get to give back. So, bravo. Thank you.
I have a kind of an interesting question. It says in the backup here that Senior Resource Association has asked the district to extend the current pricing, but they have to go out for an RFP. So I don't quite understand how that works. They're telling us what we need to bid. Are they going to get other bids?
I think what they're doing is extending this contract basically till June. They're going to go through the RFP process this spring.
Okay. Because this is only from January 1st of 17 through June.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okay, action item G, approval to renew the RFP number 2016-07 with Aon Consulting Incorporated, operating as AON Hewitt for Employee Health and Wellness Benefit Consultant. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just in item G, we're seeking approval to renew our contract with Aon Consulting. There is no cost to the district.
Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Okay, Sean.
Second.
Okay. Okay, any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
We just had our workshop this morning about our contracts, previous contracts. I was wondering if the attorney has had a chance to just review this contract to make sure that we're not missing anything in there that might come up in the future. Have you had a chance to look at this?
That particular contract was awarded as part of a bid process a year ago, so the scope of services that this particular company provides to the school board would have been a part of that bid process. So we're not really in a position to amend the contract from what the awarded bid claimed a year ago.
Okay. Just one more comment.
I'm sorry?
One more comment.
Go ahead.
Did you guys actually get a copy of the contract?
Not today.
No, but I think to expand on what the attorneys, that the scope of work for the person or people who applied to bid was hashed out a year ago in the request for proposal, and that contract with its services, she reviewed then, and we approved, and that they're just today, the same terms, nothing changed for another year. So I can only tell you that, not having the contract in front of me though, that without anything changing, I have no problem with extending it, if that helps, for a second year.
Here's a very good question.
I had to personally request a copy because it's hard for me to prove something that I've not read. So I would just encourage for you guys to do the same thing.
Do you see anything in the contract that you did not like?
No, I did read through it, and there wasn't anything that stood out to me, but I just think it's good practices that when we vote on a contract, that we need to have a copy of it so that we can review it.
Good point.
Duly noted.
Okay.
I would like to, moment of praise here. December 9th has been stricken through, and it is replaced with the current date, and I appreciate that. You heard the board say that we'd like our contracts to begin on the day that we vote on them, and I appreciate that. A little positive reinforcement.
Somebody's doing their job. Is that what you
Exactly.
said? Okay,
Yes, sir.
Good man, good man.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion?
I would just like to actually support Ms. Zork. You know, my assumption for me, I understood, but I do support what she has to say. And especially as a new board member, the contract should have been included, so please keep that in mind. And if you have a problem with it tonight, I certainly understand.
Fortunately, Dr. Rendell was able to get me a copy ahead of time, so.
And also, not just you.
Mhm,
Public has a right to see that. back.
Correct.
Exactly.
So,
So it is noted, superintendent has that on his agenda, and it will happen in the future. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same
You're
sign.
pulling a Charlie?
Yes, sir.
5-0.
I get to be Charlie now.
Okay, motion carries. Action item H, approval of guaranteed maximum price for Vero Beach High School Citrus Bowl phased renovations, Proctor Construction Company. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're seeking approval for Phase 2, the guaranteed maximum price for the Vero Beach High School Citrus Bowl project in the amount of $3,398,443. The GMP does not include architect, engineering, and testing fees in the amount of $275,300. Total project cost is $3,673,743. We're seeking approval tonight for that.
Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
John.
Second.
Second, Ms. Justice. Okay, any discussion?
I would once again like to thank staff for hearing us on including the total cost of things, including all the architectural and other things. We don't feel like we're getting tax tag title, you know. Getting the bottom line is extremely helpful in making these decisions, and I appreciate the openness and candor with which you've presented this.
I have a question. In the first contract piece that we had before it was updated, there was an item in there for builder's risk insurance, but with no cost. And the district now has to pay for that. Is that included anywhere in our, the total cost figures?
Actually, Mr. Searcy, the district does not have to pay for that. Excuse me. The district is a part of an insurance consortium, the South Central Educational Risk Management Pool. And we have a blanket policy, I believe it's about $20 million, that covers all the members. So this project was able to be fit under that policy, so there is no direct cost to the district for the builder's risk. We just fit that into the program that we're currently a part of.
And then I guess the other thing, it indicated insurance was $18,000.
It still
Now,
remains.
is that included in that, or?
It still remains $18,000, sir.
Okay. And this is kind of a crazy thing, but on the, I guess it's on page 4 of 16 of the contract, the superintendent is a guy named Westenberg. Is that the same guy that works for us?
No, sir.
Project superintendent.
Is that the same name, or?
Same last name, but not the same person. No, sir.
I just thought I would ask that question.
He's on the dole.
Is it the same last name? I'm
No,
sorry,
he's
it's not
Westenberger, and this is
Berger.
Westenberg.
Oh, saved by the Okay, good deal. Okay. Builder's risk is okay. Is there any other discussion? Yes, ma'am, Laura.
I'm still waiting for clarification on the Proctor, I don't know what you call this list, but number 33, utilities, 269, 284.
What page is that, Laura?
It's 3 of
Page 3 of
16.
16.
Is that number 33?
3 of
Yes,
16.
utilities.
Item number 33.
I think where I'm a,
69,000, yeah, that's right.
where I'm a little confused, because I don't actually have the proposal in front of me, is, there is a whole list of things they do not include. And I look at number 2, we do not include any impact or utility connections. Then we go to, we do not include utility fees or charges. We do not include any temporary power to maintain any services. So I keep seeing they don't provide utilities, but yet we have a line item here for 269. So I just wanted some clarification on that.
I'll ask Mr. Westenberger to clarify that for me. However, I believe that that is the estimate based on the time of construction for the construction trailer to be on site for that project. But I'll ask Mr. Westenberger just to clarify that for you.
$250,000 in electricity? I know it's Vero Electric and all that.
Let me clarify that the line 33 is a construction division. That's for site utilities, so that's for the actual stuff that's going to go in the ground, the underground sewage, the water, all of the things that are included in the construction project. So it's site utilities that you're seeing there, the cost of site utilities. I think what you're referring to in general conditions is site utility, is utilities to hook up a trailer. That is not included in that $233,000 or whatever it is. I don't have the GMP.
269, right?
Does that clarify?
269, 284.
It does clarify the difference for me, but I still, I'm going to harp on this. To be able to make an informed decision on anything, I'm going to have backup. I'm new, I don't have the past documents to look at, so I don't know if you had originally handed out what each of these were. No. Okay, well, now on, I would prefer to have that.
Well, I would tell you, though, that we have been offered, and I think the superintendent's aware of this, we've been offered the services of a gentleman who actually, I think, and he doesn't even know it, maybe he's coming to the microphone, that is going to give us a lesson in how these contracts work, and how, and I believe the superintendent's going to ask the gentleman, maybe surprise him, but we need to know all the ins and outs of how construction management at risk works. And we've been offered that deal, and I've accepted. I don't know if the superintendent's going to accept it or not, but I think he will. But we need to know how this works, and that's going to be coming later on at a workshop, I believe.
Yes, sir. We had, staff and I had a discussion about the fact that the board could benefit by a workshop on CMAR and GMP, you know, the difference between a construction management at risk, guaranteed maximum price, all that. You know, some of these things, because we're asking you to approve millions of dollars.
Yep.
And it would be beneficial for you to understand really the different types of contracts that you're being asked to approve. So we'll be having a workshop on that probably in February.
Okay. Any more discussion on that?
I would just like to say that I've spent some time with Mr. Morrison kind of trying to learn this a little bit, so I'd just like to say thank you, because I look forward to the workshop. I would always like to have more information and a better understanding, but I will say that, you know, whenever I've had a question to ask, it's been answered, so thank you.
You'll never have all the answers.
Right, I
You'll
want
never
them.
have all the
I
answers.
want all the answers.
But just keep asking the questions.
I will,
Keep
yes,
asking.
sir.
That's what we're supposed to be doing up here, so.
I would like to say, as a project manager, I love the Gantt charts on 5 and 6 of 16.
You like
Outstanding
the
stuff. These Gantt charts that show the activities
Oh, yeah,
and milestones, and so there's actually some utility stuff on here, too. Utility locate, tracing. It's activity number 11, task 11. Sorry, that's how I think of project things. Anyway, thank you for including this, so we
And
know the
I
time.
did notice on page 10 of 16, it says
put in for a,
Waiver?
We did seek a waiver, it was denied.
it was denied, okay.
It's too bad.
Well, we can recruit more coaches now.
We still have the high lift thing out at the county office. Whatever that place is up north of town up here, but anyway. Okay, is there any other discussion? Thank you, Mr. Westenberger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, 5-0. Okay. Action item I, approval of Indian River Agreement for Architectural Services for Fellsmere Elementary 700 Building HVAC Replacement. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're seeking approval for an agreement for architectural services between the school board of Indian River County and Donadio and Associates. This agreement is for professional architectural services for the replacement and upgrade of the HVAC system within the existing 700 building at Fellsmere Elementary. The board may recall this project is in the capital plan, the 5-year capital plan. It's a much-needed upgrade to building 700. This is just the beginning of the project. The architectural fees cost is $56,000 plus $2,500 for reimbursable items. Mr. Morrison, anything to add?
Yes, sir. I would be remiss if I did not bring the board back to July 26. On July 26, we brought an action item to you to approve multiple vendors for continuing services. And the question at that time is, okay, we have these architects, when we have this pool of architects, and when we pull somebody from the pool for utilization for services, will the board see that contract? That is what's before you tonight. So we're just following up on the board's desire to see these contracts when we swim in the pool, so to speak.
Great. Move approval.
Second.
Approve second. Okay.
This is Justice Scott's
Okay.
favorite.
Any more discussion?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to.
You'd like to, go ahead.
Thank you, because I made the motion.
Let
But I
you
yield,
have it.
I yield.
I'm gonna let you yield. and
I
that'll be
yield,
fine.
Mrs. Justice.
This is one of the older buildings, as I understand it, at Fellsmere, and I know there have been questions regarding air quality and some different issues there, and I think this is a good decision for students. We are making sure that we are providing good air quality and a safe environment for learning.
Mr. Frost.
What she said.
She said it's your time.
No, that was literally it, that this was,
Sorry.
something that's been in the budget for a few years. We weren't able to do it when we did the other AC units out there. It's good that we're doing this because air quality is considered to be an issue, and this will be a step in the right direction. So that's it.
Now, is this the area where we had the mold up there, or somebody said there was some mold and somebody said there wasn't mold, or was it
If
in
you
the
recall-
700 wing?
If you recall, we had mold behind one of the marker boards. Air quality was always an issue in this older building, so
Okay.
it had carpet and that kind of thing. We remediated that. But the air quality, really, the biggest factor is the air conditioning system.
Okay.
And so these had to be replaced.
Somebody told me they turn these things off at night and it causes mold. We don't turn the air conditioning systems off at night, do we? Does anybody?
They are on a schedule that turns down the air condition, but I do not believe they are completely
We do not turn them off.
I do not believe they're off. I think they are turned down because they're
Sure.
on a schedule.
Okay.
Now, one of the problems in there was,
But let me finish, if you may.
sorry.
This system is what we call a direct expansion unit. It's like a commercial grade air conditioning system that runs on electric. What we want to do is put in a chilled water system, which we have better controls over a chilled water system than a direct expansion unit. So absolutely the air quality, if that's an issue, I don't recall it being in this wing, however, would improve as a result of this project.
And the chilled water system is one that makes ice at night and
Yes,
use it during the
that is
day. And how
correct.
does that create electricity is what I want to know.
It doesn't create electricity, it creates cooling. We pipe the chilled water into the building. In other words, we make ice at night. Essentially, we move our load off the peak hours, which is during the day, which is more expensive, to building that ice capacity at night, and we melt the ice during the day. And so therefore, you shift your load over onto off-peak rate, which is less and costs less for the district.
Very good.
Very cool. While we're talking about air quality, one of the complaints of that wing was there was a little bit of a urea smell because that's where the preschool, or our pre-K is there, I mean, I know that this probably won't directly affect it, but if we could put some filtration in or something along those lines, that might help. Because people mistook that for, to be this musky or moldy smell, and I went in there and, Mr. Sanders walked me through it. He said, stick your nose in here, and I said, okay. I said, what is that? And they said, well, it's the mats. So I know that there have been steps to remediate those mats and keep those clean, things like that, but I don't know if we can put charcoal filters in or something like that. That might be something to think about as we design this thing.
Ms. Orton?
To clarify, we're approving here the architectural fees, right? We're not actually approving the system that's going to go in.
That will come back to you.
Okay. And just a note, 56,000 for the architect to design. Have we had these put in another school? I think Mr. Frost had brought up before, can we ever reuse some plans that we had already had if we're using the same system?
Not necessarily, because I believe this system, this school is one of our older schools, if you will, and each system has its intricacies and different design criteria. The 56,000, I believe, is based on the degree of difficulty. We refer to as a DMS curve, which is the Division of Management Services by the state. We kind of use that curve, if you will, as our negotiating tool for this. So the 56,000, we believe, is a fair price.
And when we use the architect, we've got several different architects that we use. How do you determine which one's going to get which job?
I believe it's a best fit, but also an equal distribution of work throughout the architects.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, discussion?
Just, I do have to say, I haven't heard of any other architects, though. It seems
Right.
to be the same one.
Right.
I have nothing against the architect.
We have, I believe, asked the board to approve an RFP for large and small projects. I believe we've got several in the hopper. I think we're actually using some on other projects right now. We have Binkley, Edlin Dritten Bass, an associate, Song and Associates. We've got Donadio. So we do have a pool of architects that was approved on July 26th, and we're just utilizing one from that pool.
Yes,
By the time I got up here, Mr. Morrison had already answered, but we are using EDB as the Director of Facilities now. I'm going on a rotational basis. I'm giving everybody equal chance, so I've got Edlin Dritten Bass working on projects. I've got Donadio working on projects. Harvard Jolly's obviously working on projects. Song and Associates. So we are rotating. We are giving equal distribution to not only architects, to engineering firms when we use them strictly, and as well as construction firms when we do smaller projects.
And you just choose whoever's next? It's not by, well, this is a big job, so we're going to give it to you, and this is a small job, so we're going to let you have it?
It varies. I will, if I've had an architect that has worked extensively on a campus and knows that campus pretty well, I will use them again just because of their knowledge of the campus. But for the most part, I'm just trying to do equal distribution.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Westenberger. Okay, any other discussion? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Okay, 5-0. Okay, now we go to J. Approval of release of final payment to Proctor Construction Company for the Citrus Elementary new classroom addition project. School District in River County, 215-19. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Approval is recommended for release of final payment in the amount of $221,766.91 to Proctor Construction Company for the Citrus Elementary new classroom addition. The final construction cost for this project was $3,816,720.52. The unused balance of the GMP in the amount of $502,632.48 will be placed in the district's capital project account.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Say good job.
Now,
So that $500,000 will come back before the board, that capital outlay will have to be revised at that point, or it'll be added back in and then reallocated out? And that will come before the board for a vote?
Correct. Yep. Mr. Morrison, any?
There are two ways in which we can accomplish this. Firstly, the $500,000, we could amend the entire 5-year plan and bring that back to the board for approval by utilizing that $500,000 pretty much by triage. We'll be looking at air conditioning systems, leaking roof, those kinds of things for repair. Or we could separately bring those as separate projects to the board and identify that the funding for these particular projects is based on the GMP, the returned funds on the GMP for the Citrus project. So there are sort of two ways you can do that.
What's the normal way that we do it?
Typically, we bring forward the project individually and identify that these were the funds from the unused GMP dollars on a particular project.
Sean?
Oftentimes, when we do these calculations for the GMP, we build in a contingency. Is this $500,000 found money, or is it money that we thought was going to be above and beyond the cost? How much
Yes.
did we build in contingency in this contract?
There was approximately around $300,000 allotted for an expedited schedule. When we looked at the schedule, this was probably going to be a night and day project, given the tight schedule that we had. And there was about $168,641.75 was saved through contract buyout and savings on general conditions. So those funds were coming back to us under the GMP.
So about 468 total?
Yes.
We
roughly
expected
about that.
back? So
Actually,
there's
when you
a-
add those two numbers together, it's a 502. The 333, 990.73, and 641.75.
So the full amount is actually the contingency that's unrealized?
No, the contingency was spent. It's my understanding that the contingency was spent. However, these are dollars that were returned to the district as a result of those savings I just mentioned.
Okay.
How
much was the contingency? Do you
I
recall?
believe it was 150,000, if I'm not mistaken.
320. What was the 320 then? Can you repeat that?
The 333, 990.73 were funds allotted for an expedited schedule.
Okay.
In other words, you'd have subs working night and day on that project.
And my regular question is, when do we do the attestation on this project?
Now that the project has been closed out, we then send in the auditors to conduct the attestation to make sure that even although we got back funds, that the actual costs that were charged to the GMP were appropriate and proper and in conformance with the CMAR contract.
And was this contract done with the new contract, or was this the old contract?
I believe it was an update of one of the old contracts, but not the current language that we have reinserted.
Okay. Okay. All right, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, 5-0. Okay, item number K, approval of continuing contract for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, design, engineering services template. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, items K and L are very similar. What we're seeking is approval to develop a template for a continuing contract. In item K, it's for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing design engineering services. And in item L, it's actually for architectural and engineering services. So this is a template that we want to use whenever we go through this process. Mr. Carver, do you want to come on up and explain that?
So I think the easiest way to explain this is to maybe tell you kind of how we do it now and how the approval of this, how the process will change. So now we'll go out for RFQ for continuing service providers. Donadio was one of the ones from the last award back in July. And we currently will bring a single contract for a finite scope of services every time we want to utilize one of those contractors. So we actually don't have a continuing contract. But that's what it is, but we don't actually have one. So with this template, each time I bring an award recommendation of an RFQ for professional services for a continuing contract, there'll be a subsequent contract agenda item for each of the contracts, the continuing contracts. And then when we want to engage with one of those sources, we'll use Exhibit D, which is a task assignment, and it will be where we define the scope of services, the expectation, and it will be an amendment essentially to that continuing contract. So that continuing contract will, if we use them 5 times, there'll be 5 amendments throughout the course of that year. And It's intended to make the process more efficient and really truly be a continuing contract. I worked with Ms. Diagresta on the model. I believe, was it Osceola County or Orange County?
It was Osceola.
Osceola County. So it's a model that Osceola County used. We looked at some of their materials and we adapted them to Indian River County, and we just think it's going to make the process more efficient for facilities.
Make a move to approve?
Okay, Dale, motion. I need a second. Ms. Justice, okay. Any discussion?
Well, I just want to say that's a great way to do business, of pre-qualifying the service vendor, and then the Exhibit A, or even A and B on a contract will just explain the scope of work, which will change with each contract, but you've really hammered out your boiler point, and you're done. So I think that's great. I commend you for that.
But they always come back to the board.
The,
Well, depending on the amount, I guess, but.
Yes, we'll follow the requirements of School Board Policy 6320, and when the contract on the task sheet, task assignment is going to exceed 50,000, they will be brought to the board as individual items.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. 5-0, motion carries. Basically, I need a motion on consent L, on action L, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve item L, which is more of the same for the architectural engineering services template.
Second.
John, okay. Because I think we heard from the superintendent that it's basically the same information, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
As long as it comes back before the board pursuant to Board Policy 6320, fine.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0. Okay, very good. M, approval of the Focus School Software Agreement for the Enterprise Resource Planning System. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is actually a long-awaited venture, and I'm going to let Mr. Green take it from here because we're finally replacing the green screen. Mr.
Green Cobalt, yes. That'll be the last time you get to use it, I hope.
I'm ahead of my time. That's all there is to it.
Thank you, Dr. Rendell. So this is when we started the .6 millage and we had our meetings out at such Dodgertown, we had town hall meetings. One of the things we did was share the green screen COBOL programming system that we have, 1970s based. And we took that in chunks. We did the student information system first. We kept the ERP as a separate process once we got that implemented. Just so you know, this was a totally separate process. This was led through Dr. Fritz and Mr. Morrison's groups because this is HR, payroll, finance. This is your business operating systems. And Mr. Carver led that RFP process. So we went through. This particular software is a 5-year agreement to replace all the systems listed, accounts payable, accounts receivable, turn it into a web-based hosted system so that you can access it 24/7 anytime. We will still need to support the COBOL and the older system probably for 2.5 to 3. I mean, this is an adventure. We will be on for a couple years to run parallel for a year, to go live, and then you want to make sure you keep your system in case you need to go back and get more data out of it. So for the next 3 years, we'll still be supporting the older system as well, but this is certainly long overdue. And again, I cannot thank the community enough. With a capital budget for technology of $500,000 total a year, there's no way we could replace systems like this. And this was part of the voter-approved millage, and we're glad to get it done within the 4-year period that we told the voters we would.
Perfect. Any board discussion? Let's see, we don't have a motion.
We don't have a motion.
Need a motion?
But we can still discuss.
York. And I have a second by,
I'll
motion
second
by
that.
Laura and a second by Sean.
Sure.
Any other discussion?
I do. If, Mrs. Sword, you made the motion?
No. I'm so
You didn't do
happy.
that?
Ladies
No, I'm just, it's, coming from an accounting research background, I do not know how you guys have survived. I mean, just the time consuming just to build a program to find a report that we ask for. I just think efficiency is, going to change just with your all's time not having to build these. And just a simple example, I asked for a comma to be put in these long financial reports, and Carter had mentioned if I do that, we might mess up the system. So I'm just really, I'm excited about this, but, and I'm just excited. I'm excited for you guys.
Well, I have one question. What happens if you've got all of this in that system? What happens if it breaks down?
So one of the benefits of hosting with a organization like Focus is they have multiple data centers. They have an archive of our data in Atlanta. We have only one source here, and the system no longer has anyone else in the state of Florida to be able to leverage as a disaster recovery. So they source with data centers to supply that, and being web-based, they keep a replicated copy at other sites. So if we lost internet access here, we could drive, a few miles to anywhere that had internet access and get back on the system and be doing the work instead of being completely down if the hardware here went down.
So it's foolproof.
Well, looking at,
Mr. Green.
It's fool resistant.
Looking at our governmental hacking lately, I would never say anything is foolproof. It is certainly a step above the disaster recovery plans we currently have in place.
That's terrific. Terrific. Any other input, discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Okay.
All opposed? What? I'm backing off.
Okay. No, I used to do software implementations, and there's no project plan for this one. I hope that the board will, I hope that there's one that exists with use cases already being built and all those things that we're going to share with the vendor so that they know what the user experience at the end should be. And then we go through the user acceptance testing. As we rolled out Focus in the classroom, it wasn't as successful as it maybe could have been because the teachers didn't receive the support they needed, to adopt the new software. So I just hope that we're mindful on the ERP side,
If you
that
look
we're
at
building those use cases of what we expect this stuff to do, and then communicating that to the vendor, and then making sure we get it.
If you look on the first page of the schedule, we have included a project management and gap analysis. They will be coming in, meeting with every department, developing a project schedule, Gantt charts to support that, and user acceptance testing with each individual department to make sure that it does everything that Terms does currently. And so we are assured that is built into the project.
Great.
I have one other little question. I guess it's on page 1 of 3 concerning the license fee. I believe this is M we're on, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I noticed that our license fee is $196,280 based on 19,628 students. Where do we get those?
Yeah, so the way they do their billing is for every possible student that has any information in the system. So that includes homes. There's students we support in our district through data, making sure we schedule them, homeschool students. That's the number of students in our current student information system in our district that would house any data with them. They don't have to be living at one of our schools like Dodgertown or Citrus. It's just when they ran the report, that's the total number of students in Indian River County, including homeschool and teen parent. There's several other programs included in that just beside your traditional and charter public schools.
Well, can we be getting FTE on all of those?
Some of it's like
It's
McKay's
just
in
that
here, right?
it's just their billing model. It's not. That's just how they bill. Is they count every student.
Just trying to find some more money. Okay. All right, Sean, would you like to say anything? That's exactly what I was going to say just a minute ago about the programming and all. Same thing.
Now
If I'd
it's
have known what it was.
very good. No, this includes like McKay students and things like that as well, right?
Yep. Every student that would have any data in our student information system that they would handle that's in McKay scholarship students or students who get dollars for ESE students to get services at a private school.
Just seemed like an awfully large number
That's
to me,
it.
based on what we normally hear.
So it's not an enrollment figure. Very good question. It is just total number of students supported in their system in one way or another.
Okay, very good. Any other discussion?
Call.
Hearing none, okay, call for the motion. All in favor?
I'm playing Charlie.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, 0, okay. In approval of appointment of citizens to the Indian River County Metropolitan Planning Organization, County Citizen Advisory Committee for Transportation, and an alternate for this voting position. We have 2 applications, I believe, and I believe they are, if I can find them. Each of you has the information. Let's see, we have the recommended for the number 1 voting member, Amy Speak, who read her resume. And we have an application from John Kim for the alternate position. Do we have a motion on this?
Move approval,
Okay,
as stated.
okay.
Second.
Dale, okay. All right. Any discussion? These are voting members. The county has asked that we have an alternate because they need to have a quorum at a lot of their meetings. So both of these folks seem to be qualified, and they're volunteers, so we've got them. So any other discussion on them? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, 5-0. Okay, very good. Okay, that concludes that, I believe. And the superintendent's report.
I was going to save my comments till the superintendent's closing, so I'll
Okay.
go last.
That's a good report, right? I like that. Okay. Discussion, anybody have any discussion that they would like to bring up? New sheriff in town now, okay? Laura?
No, I just have a question for clarification from one of our speakers. I would like Dr. Fritz to walk me through, or Dr. Rendell, of when we have a new hire, teacher hire, what type of training or what do we do to help put them in place so that we're making them successful? So what are we doing right now for new hires? What type of training?
So you can start with Dr. Fritz, but Mrs. Dampier will probably chime in as well, because we do have a new teacher support person in place this year, which we hadn't had for a couple of years. Dr. Fritz?
Yeah, I'll defer to Ms. Dampier. That being said, she can talk about the new teacher processes, but some of it is, there's some variance depending on the principal and the school, and it's something that we need to be more uniform as far as the support that's offered at that level, but there is some centralized support provided as well.
Hi. We did hire a new teacher support specialist this year, and that person is actually housed at one of our schools, VBE. But she provides support not only to VBE, but to other schools as well. Also, our PD specialists, they have been assigned new teachers as well to provide support at those schools on a weekly, monthly, as need be based on the principal's needs, as well as the teacher needs. And they've done some surveys as well to, make sure that they're providing that support. But that, again, is part of our tiered support that we're providing in the schools, not our people sitting at the district, but we're in the schools providing that support to our teachers. We also have, it's my understanding that there is a teacher, like a mentor, it's not called a mentor teacher, a teacher leader at each school that provides support and meets with the PD department to provide additional support at the school level. We do have a stipend that we provide for that position.
It also starts at the beginning of the year. The teachers that are hired either late in the spring or over the summer, they have a new teacher orientation multiple days before the school year starts. It sounds like Ms. Cannon was talking about someone who maybe came after the year started, so they didn't benefit from having that new teacher orientation. Dr. Fritz is right. Some of that support varies from building to building. We'll need to review what's going on at each building to make sure we're providing at least a minimum level support at each building.
And as PD department, we are looking at that. We met with Mrs. Cannon this past week, and she did, address that. We meet monthly to discuss some concerns, and our PD coordinator and my department are looking at how we can support and make sure that we provide that support for new teachers along with the principals. We're also looking at some changes for next year with that as well. So we've started the process and the conversations of how we can support from the beginning and then have stages throughout the year where we're supporting the principal as well as the teachers, what kind of support we can provide at different points in the year, as well as possibly having an assistant principal a part of that mentoring process as well.
We also want to thank IRCEA for partnering with us on that. They help us with the summer orientation and provide lunch and participate in the training as well, and so it's a good partnership.
One question that I have, when teachers leave, as the young lady indicated early on, that they were new hires, new hired this year or whatever, do we do an exit interview with them to find out what their issues might have been?
Principals do meet with them, but we also have an exit survey. It's an electronic survey that is sent in between the time the action is taken at the school, whether it's a resignation letter or even if it's termination. We send out an electronic survey to that teacher and elicit information from them prior to the board acting. And so we compile that data and review it periodically to look for trends and information that could be helpful to the organization.
Could I make a suggestion that you have a live interview with them? Sometimes they may not even respond to you in an electronic survey, and you may find out something in a live interview that maybe they didn't want to put on the computer. Is that something that we can do? I don't know how many we have in a given year, but it just seems to me, and maybe for all of our employees, but if once they get out the door, you're not going to get them to respond. So, you almost have to say, well, here's your last paycheck. Come on in here and let's have this exit interview and tell us why you're resigning or why if they're terminated, you probably need to have the exit interview anyway, but is that something we can do?
It's actually something that we've talked about this year as part of the superintendent's goals, exit interviews. Actually, we're working on a different approach in the Human Resources Office at the direction of the superintendent, which is called a stay interview. And actually what we want to be doing is interviewing our current incumbents about reasons why they would like to stay with our organization, what we can do to support them in ongoing support, professional development, training, to make them not want to leave us. And so an exit interview in the HR world is almost post-mortem. I mean, it's at the end. We want to be helping the patient along the way. And so it's a little bit different line of thinking that is fairly common in the human resources world.
I like that. I'd just like to say I like that.
Yeah.
That is
It's really
positive.
hot in
That
HR
is-
right now.
Well, but we know we have some people that had issues. And for sure, I'm hoping that the superintendent will put that on his list, a long list of things that to do. But anyway, whatever's the best for our district.
It's number 2 right there on the list from tonight.
But I think Ms. Cannon brought up a really good point early on that it almost seems like we're not giving the proper support to our new teachers. And a lot of them are fresh out of college and they have a degree and they may have had some student teaching or something, but they may not be totally tuned in to what they need to be doing. So I hope we can work on that and sooner than later, by the way. But Ms. Justice.
Because this is such an important issue, and it seems that the board may still have questions, I don't know that, the snippet really does it justice. The issue justice, perhaps it should be a workshop that we become more aware of the professional development that's being done, some changes that have been made in the past year, and what the school district hopes they'll accomplish by doing this.
List. We definitely will bring back information. It may not be in a workshop format. It may be a presentation at a board meeting.
Great.
Especially if it's something that we think would benefit to a wider viewing audience. The business meetings have a wider viewing audience than even the workshops.
I think it's real important that the folks out there in the viewing area know that we do things at this board table besides talk about building and finance and that stuff. We need to be talking about education, and as long as our district continues to improve, we're doing our job and you're doing your job. So I think at every meeting we ought to be talking about what we're doing in education. So that's my 2 cents worth. Laura, you have anything else? We only had 1 minute to get
I
that.
concur.
30 minutes. Oh, you concur, okay.
Concur.
Anybody else have anything, discussion? Okay. All right, let's see, school board member matters. Ms. Justice?
I would like to say thank you to Sebastian River High School. We all received an amazing Christmas gift this year. We were each given 2 tickets to the Prism Show. This is the program from it. I took my daughter Ava, who is 11, almost 12, and it blew my mind. It was the coolest thing. I was so moved. I was ready to cry at one point. There was so much, it was just fantastic, and I was so proud, and I was so thankful to go next year. I'm bringing the whole family. So thank you, Sebastian River High School students and staff. I'd also like to say thank you to our community partners. United Way, tonight, $25,000 to Pelican Island Elementary to support the community school project. I expect great things from that project in supporting that community. Thank you, United Way. We appreciate you. On the consent agenda, we had the PTA at Liberty Magnet supporting their school and giving money for Sea Camp. Thank you, PTA. And then other community partners, Marty Fish at Sebastian Elementary donated $1,000 to cheerleading and the dance team. I think it's awesome. Marty's about tennis. That's where he started, but he's supporting all of these different things in our schools, his foundation, so thank you. And then finally, we had a private donor at Osceola Magnet donate $1,000 for training support for Singapore math. So it's great to see community members supporting initiatives at our schools, that we are invested and involved, and I think that can only help to build a better school district. So thank you, community members.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to, first of all, thank staff for a wonderful year. I wanted to commend Ms. Dampierre for the few months in. You're doing a great job, so I want to say thank you. You've settled in nice, and you provide a lot of good information for us. So, again, you're not new anymore. I do want to say that my mother used to say, when the professionals are younger than you, you're getting old. And there was a professional here tonight that I thought he was a student. So either he's very young or I'm very old. To the parents and students, this is going to be our first year where the midterms are before the Christmas break. And I really think it was a positive. It was met with a lot of difficulty, and we shall see if this is, because there was always that lapse of time where they came back from vacation. So this will be, it's here, so it's here. And it'd be interesting to see how student grades and how they, to be tested and review the information that they've learned the first semester, instead of waiting to lag over past the vacation. So it was a very difficult in the public. It was, it's coming, and it just was difficult. But I'm hoping not in theory, but in practice, people will see that it was a very good move. I hope everybody has a very wonderful time this season. Some people are not as fortunate. And also, I will want to thank the Salvation Army. That's a personal family thing, that the money in the Salvation Army stays here, and you always see them just out at this season. So I wanted to make sure I thanked them, and I know that we've been very good. I believe they went up while we were doing the ballots at Walmart. He had to run that whole day because Pelican Island had a nice little kettle drive there as well. So we always, as you said, partner with our community, and we do appreciate it. And I wish, as I said, my fellow board members a happy and safe holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Frost?
Yes. I just have one thing and then gratitude moment here. For those following the estimating conferences out of Tallahassee, earlier recently we were given a sunny picture as to the forecast. However, I'd like to share this with you. Government is running a $3 billion reserve with a total budget of around $83.5 billion. If spending continues at the existing levels, that reserve will fall by half this time next year, which means we are spending more than we are taking in. That's called deficit funding. And for anyone who thinks they're going to see huge increases in public education funding this year, better luck next year. But however, there was some positive forecasts. I think they're saying 4% perhaps next year. There may be 4% growth statewide. However, anyone who's telling you that this is going to be a great year for funding for public education might want to review the facts and what's coming out of Tallahassee, out of the estimating conferences. I know Mr. Morrison does a fine job of watching that and then trying to figure out how we're going to make things work here in the district. So with that in mind, this board, I'm excited about the opportunities we're going to have together. We're going to grow through challenges. And also like to echo PRISM, when as a teacher I got to see it, and as a board member, you get to be there, and it is fantastic, the experience, and like you get chills when they come down the funnel. And that only happens with great staff, great teachers, good parents that drive them there, and families that support them. And of course, the students doing the work and rehearsing, it's just phenomenal. Everything up to the guy who's in the lights and things like that. So really appreciate you inviting us and sharing that. And it was great to share with my family. And I'm so pleased and I feel blessed that our community has such great art programs and that we can continue to support that. I just want to wish everyone, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. I hope you do it safely and enjoy yourself, and we'll see you next year.
Good, Laura?
Ditto. No, I just, I look forward to the new year. A lot of things are happening. I'm very positive about this board. I feel like we're really on top of it, eager and willing to stay here for almost 12 hours today to, really start moving forward some ideas that we've all had for a long time. So I just appreciate the opportunity to be here and to work with you guys and the staff. So.
Anything else?
That's it.
Mine, I attended the PRISM concert, and every year that I go, I'm flabbergasted. It's absolutely astounding that those kids, those young adults, actually, can do what they do, and every one of them had a smile on their face. I mean, and of course, they were laughing at each other a lot of the time, but it is, it's unbelievable the talent that we have in this town, in this community. So I commend them for what they're doing. I understand the Vero Beach High School has some concerts also. I did not attend those, and I think they were already this weekend, right?
It was Sunday and Monday, and I went last night. I can speak to that.
And I would imagine they probably had the same talent there and the same excitement. But that PRISM concert, you better take your earplugs when you go. But I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
They give them out at PRISM. They give you earplugs if you need them.
I'm
Just next
hard of
time.
hearing,
Just
so
think
I
it.
didn't need it. But anyway, that concludes our part of the meeting. Dr. Rendell, you want to have a closing?
Yes, I want to echo some of the comments. I want to share equal opportunity praise for all the different music programs. I did attend PRISM. It was incredible. I also attended the Vero Beach High School holiday program, musical program. That was Monday night. And the talent level there is just as strong as Sebastian River High School. Really, really strong orchestra program. Really an incredible night there as well. I had the great fortune of going to Fells Middle Elementary last week to see their holiday program. We heard from Glendale Elementary tonight. So every school, I'm sure, is putting on some kind of holiday program, and you're seeing the arts alive and well in Indian River County. Part of the thanks for that should go to the voters, because the citizens, because that voter-approved millage doesn't just buy us technology. There's teachers in that, teachers' technology and textbooks, and the teachers are some of those fine arts teachers that are doing some of that great work. Not to be left out, we missed the Indian River Charter High School chorale concert tonight. That was tonight, so that was going on while we were here. So we've got top-notch talent at every single school building in the district, and we should be thankful for that. I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. I want to thank the board for their hard work over the last week or so. This new board has had to make some very tough decisions, and they've been very thoughtful and deliberate in those decisions. I look forward to working with them when we come back from the new year.
What time did the concert start at Charter High School?
I believe 7 was the
You
time.
probably still have time to get there. Okay. Does anything else need to come before this board? Seeing none, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.